So, welcome to Create with me, Vaughn Littlejohns, a podcast about educational innovation, technology, and the creative approaches educators are using to transform learning. Today, I'm joined with Ryan Noonan, leader of Digital Technologies and Innovation at Chevrolet College. Ryan is leading from the front, challenging what is possible through vibe coding, empowering teachers and students to create with AI tools without the technical skills of programming. But here's what's making this conversation critical. He's directly addressing the fears that keep educators and parents up at night. What if everything we've been told to fear about AI in education is actually the opposite? In sessions with teachers and parents, Ryan and I hear it constantly. Students will lose critical thinking, they'll become lazy, they'll stop learning. We are not dismissing these fears. Ryan's in the classrooms every day, seeing what actually happens when we create with AI rather than fear it. The gap between fear and the reality is massive. This conversation will challenge your assumptions about what AI is actually doing in education, what critical thinking actually means now, and why taking action today, even when tools aren't perfect, matters more than waiting for the right moment. Ryan, welcome, mate.
Thanks, Vaughn. It's great to be here, and that's a lovely introduction. So I think we're challenging the perceptions about AI use in education already just with that introduction. So happy to be a part of this conversation.
Yeah, unreal. So I want to get started with something you posted recently, and you posted about having these cool thoughts, but being stuck for months, years, unable to act on them. Can you sort of walk me through what you were actually feeling and what was one of those ideas that you couldn't really act on in the past?
Yeah, I think I'm quite internal in thought and quite, I think, creative, but my ideas and the way I wanted to be creative always had barriers. So everything I wanted to create was kind of to do with sound and visual and programming, but not having that background or not
Mm.
having the opportunity to learn how to do those things meant that all of my thoughts and ideas about being creative had to be bottled up or potentially work on one of those things over a long period of time, learn how to code something to then design something to then actually prototype it, which was underwhelming because it wasn't what was in my mind. Um, but then, yeah, the having the opportunity to have something guide me through, so to actually have AI there to send me in a direction that I didn't know I needed to go into. But then now, with its capabilities to even code my ideas for me, to then have the conversation back and forth to make the changes. So it's like literally having an engineer in my pocket where I can just take my ideas, whether it just be in text or you've got the opportunity now just to speak to the vibe coding tools, and then it'll go and create it. You get to see it, prototype it quickly, make changes to iterate on it, go back and forth until it's something that was my vision.
Mm.
Um, I think one of the cool tools that I've created recently that I really love that I've made that's it's about education. So I take the rugby team for extracurricular, but I've always wanted to have a strategy board where I could write on the strategy board, put arrows in different directions, have it animate through the plays in the back line. And there's literally something I've thought of for over 20 years that I haven't been able to implement or even find sites where I was able to do it properly just to use for free. But now with AI, I've made my own version and I can take it to my rugby teams and then play out the plays or draw on the canvas and use it practically as I've envisioned my whole life,
Mm.
being a lover of sport. But it's now taking those ideas not only in that situation of rugby, but then implementing it into the classroom. So using it with the kids, seeing what the kids can create, using it with the teachers and giving them ideas about some of the things that they can speed up their workflows. So um, yeah, it's just amazing to me that it blows my mind every time I talk about things that I get to create now, and they literally are creations that I have on the internet that I can utilize at any point. It just blows my mind that that's now my reality.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, it is pretty crazy, and that's really cool to hear. Like you had this idea 20 years ago, and now you can create it. Like I think you wrote in that same post, you feel like a child with building blocks again. Your
Yeah.
imagination's coming back. Yeah, it's unreal. So, like, what was the moment when you thought, oh, this is wild. Like you just what was the first thing you were sort of trying to create?
Good question. I think thinking back, one of the first things I actually created with AI was a story. So
Yeah.
I was working in the Department of Education, and we were working close with a literacy team. And one of the literacy team members was an author. So she was um, publishing awesome books. And I had a conversation with her about, is AI a threat? So this was about 2 years ago in 2023. ChatGPT was just coming out onto the scene.
Mm.
And she said to me at the time, it's okay, it'll never be able to write. So over at Easter long weekend, I went and published a book. Came back to her the week after and said, "Oh, look, over the weekend I've published this book." And that was kind of the first inkling to me of some of the power of artificial intelligence. And this was 2 years ago,
Mm.
where I had to put in a lot more work then in order to publish that book. Luckily, I had some design skills around using Adobe and Canva in my role in digital technologies and education. But now it'd be so easy to go through that process, and it'd be interesting to have that conversation with her actually. But that was kind of my first moment of, oh wow,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I published a book. I'm an author,
Yeah, it's
which
pretty
is
wild to think,
crazy.
like
And then to move on to there into um, yeah, the coding side of it now. And I have basic understanding of HTML, not
Mhm.
really the cascading styles or JavaScript. But I'm learning now, which is one of the most interesting parts, is that going through this process, I have a lot better understanding of code and coding than I did before AI was able to create anything for me. So
Yeah.
I'm sure we can get to that conversation in a
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah, no, that's really really cool because it's now opening up that world of like what's possible. So like many of the conversations I hear is like, well, but actually tell us like the iteration between, have an idea to, making it useful. How much time, like for example, your story you're talking about, or even your football um app, like what level of like iteration are you actually doing to make it useful?
Yeah, that's interesting. So obviously back when I was publishing the book, it wasn't as good as the tool is now. But
Mm.
as I said, it was over a long weekend. So I probably spent about 18 hours over that long weekend going back and forth to publish a book. But we're talking about an actual book that's published,
Mhm.
selling, people are buying over
Yeah.
an 18-hour period. And that was 2 years ago. So now it's literally, I have an idea, I write it down on my phone. So any idea that pops in my head now, I know that I can make it.
Yeah.
Where in the past that would have been a passing thought, that's something that, yeah, that's something that will never happen. Uh,
Mm.
Now I know I can make it, so I make sure that I note any idea that I have. And then on my phone, I come back to it. So as you said earlier, I'm teaching, I'm at a school, so I spend a lot of time working on projects at the school and teaching the kids. But any time that I have free time, I look down my list and go, all right, what can I do in this spare half an hour or an hour?
Yeah.
And my favorite tool at the moment is to jump onto Google AI Studio. So Google AI Studio, compared to some of the other AI apps,
Mm.
actually embed Gemini API inside of your apps that you create. So it means that not only then I can create apps, I can create apps with artificial intelligence within the app itself. So that's one of my favorite tools at the moment. So I've got half an hour. Let's
Yeah.
try this idea. I jump on Google AI Studio, put in my idea. Sometimes it actually takes me longer to write the prompt than for AI to create the app for me,
Yeah.
which is hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just getting my idea down. So I'll often talk it out. So I'll go
Mm.
into a Word doc or a Google Doc and just talk out my idea, read over it again, and then take that as the prompt, put it into Google AI Studio, go and make it for me.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, within seconds. So sometimes it can take up to 2 minutes, sometimes 90 seconds. I
Mm.
have a whole React web app there for me to prototype. It's sitting in Google AI Studio. So that means I can share it with anyone in my tenant if I wanted to, or I can have open access sharing because it sits within the Google Drive and I can share that out to anywhere. So um,
Mm. That's
with Gemini
cool.
3 last week with the new
Yeah.
update. the first iteration is way better than it was before. So
Mhm.
going back and forth in the conversation, um, I've realized over this last week it's a lot less than it was previously. But sometimes I'd go back and forth for maybe hour and a half, 2 hours over a week period. Or sometimes if it really couldn't get the task done, it might be another half an hour to an hour. But realistically, any app that I'm making is being made completely under 2 or 3 hours for me to share with other people, which is uh,
Yeah. Yeah. That's I mean,
crazy.
that's pretty nuts. Like what's an example of like a tool or something that you shared out?
With the teachers, so it's something we're working on here at Chevalier. So I'm working within our tenant Google AI Studio. So our IT teams open that up for teachers to use Google AI Studio.
Hmm.
One of the ones that we've been iterating lately is a lesson planning tool, but not just the generic one. So this lesson planning tool is specific to this school and the approach that the school wants to take around planning lessons.
Yep.
So we're working with the new metrics at the University of Melbourne, which is all about capabilities. So we want to make sure that the capabilities in the new metrics is embedded within our planning. So because of that, we don't want to just go to a generic chatbot and say, plan a lesson for me, because it's not going to be personalized to the way we want to plan it. So we're
Mm.
using Google AI Studio to make sure it's got some of the prompts in the background to go through a multi-step process. So the first instance, we've got our syllabus content and our capabilities.
Hmm.
And one of the capabilities always has to be agency and learning. So that's been a big drive from us this year at Chev. And then it'll generate learning intentions and success criteria based on those.
Mm.
And the way we want our learning intentions and success criteria is always to have a transfer focus. So not just we are learning this, it's always we are learning this so that or in order to.
Oh
So
yeah.
it'll spit out learning intentions with that transfer process. Success criteria are at surface, deep, and transfer learning. And then it uses all of that data when we press another button and it'll go and create what it thinks, let's say what the AI believes would be a 9 to 10 step process in order for the students to learn that content.
Hmm.
Uh, all of this is editable within the app along the way. And then the teacher's got three options from there. They can create a 10-week unit, which would be more in line to what they would normally have gone through in terms of one
Hmm.
period at a time. Let's go, this is our sequence of learning. But it's always going to have those surface deep transfer capabilities embedded because it's gone throughout the process. And then they could create a project-based learning if they wanted to. So that would be the second tab, and then the third tab, they've got the option to do a student co-planned inquiry process that goes through the spiral of inquiry. So there's lots of opportunity for teachers to put in their own individualism, but
Mm.
it's also all embedded in the school's planning process. So having the ability to create a tool to do that means that these plans and programs are specific for the school. It's got the charisma of the school embedded within it. It's got the capabilities and working at that transfer level throughout the planning before taking it to create the actual lessons.
Yeah, amazing. That's such like an inspiring like creation story. There's like there's this study that I saw. It's like, this idea of AI slop, and it's like the feedback I always get from the teachers is like, well, it takes me more time to create than just doing it myself because it's just generic. And it sounds like you're just basically trying to solve that entire problem by having it hyper specific to your like full context. And then the teachers can add additional context and gets into those technical skills. Like, what's the percentage of what you're thinking, right? Like, creating something that actually works. Like you're nearly talking about like one-shot prompting by the time you've put in enough context and you just hit bang, here's your successful criteria ready to go. Like, is this a most things succeed most of the time situation, or is it just like you're going through such a failure process, but so quickly you can really tighten it up?
Yeah, I think it's probably more towards the second one, except over the last week I've been a lot more surprised about the creation being one shot prompted. So um, definitely you need to get some mistakes in place so you can get to the point where you think it's a working product. So
Hmm.
sometimes you don't even know that it's a mistake until you have a play with it. You think it's a great idea, you have a play with it, and then you're like, ah, that's not quite what I wanted. I thought it was the vision. So,
Yeah.
as an example of that, we've got created a discussion tool where it takes a transcript of a group discussion. And I thought I wanted the teacher to type at the same time it was recording. So I thought I wanted the teacher to go, all right, this is Vaughn talking now. This is Ryan talking now. Um, but when I played with it, when I actually used it with teachers in a group discussion, it wasn't very practical.
Yeah.
But luckily, there's text to speech tools now, so it can record and transcribe the whole thing where the teacher doesn't have to go through the process of typing. They just have oversight over the conversation. Um, so that was a really good process to go through, not only just the quick iteration, but
Hmm.
actually testing it and seeing, we need to change that, which meant I could literally change it that day though. So it
Yeah.
doesn't mean I have to go and wait 2 or 3 weeks to get that engineered into a different way. It was like, didn't work an hour later. This is what it is now. Let's try this one.
Yeah, honestly, that's so cool. Like it's an idea I've been using in a system. I've been doing like recording it all using AI to analyze, and then here's your minutes, here's your to-dos, here's all that kind of stuff. It's interesting. A lot of the business people in the tech space are basically saying that soon, because they're running so much of their meetings through like this recording system, that they will be talking to like Chevrolet or Prem or whatever
Yeah.
the hub is as like the full consultant because it's got a holistic overview. But like I want to sort of pause a little bit and go, what I've just noticed in like the last few months, like we've been vibe coding quite a lot, and I've just finished a second cohort for just learning how to vibe code together. But one of the things we're talking about is like those advanced features of Google AI Studio, and the thing that I'm seeing that just pulls down vibe coding to begin with is like it's just this fundamental flaw for the non-technical people is like as soon as you try to deploy it, as soon as you try to send it or get it in front of other people, like you met with all this like friction points of like, oh, you need to know backend, you need to know management, data systems, you need to set up all this. How are you actually addressing that? Like, are you working alongside a technical person, or are you just getting AI to help you along the way?
Yeah, good question. I think that's definitely been a technical barrier for me as well. And I know that I'm someone that's well ahead of other people. If it's a barrier for me, there's definitely going to be a barrier for them. So I think I spend a lot of time doing research, watching videos. I've
Mm.
watched some very technical videos that I had no clue what was going on, to then take that into AI to help me understand what was going on.
Mm.
But yeah, at the moment, I think the biggest barrier is that back end. So AI is really good at creating a front end.
Mm.
So anyone who doesn't know what that means, it's pretty much what you can see on the screen.
Yeah.
Is the front end, where the back end is all the data collection, the data saving. So still now, the back end is the biggest barrier for us. So a
Mm.
lot of the tools we create have a download feature. So download a PDF, download the audio, download the transcript, and then that's being stored in cloud services.
Hmm.
But to have a really good full stack app, we want a back end.
Yeah.
So I've found some small workarounds in AI Studio using Google Sheets and AppScript.
Hmm.
So I didn't know how to do that. I asked Google AI Studio when it was creating the app, create me a README file and a text document that has the code for AppScript and explain to me how to set it up.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, it was actually a lot easier than I thought. The code was the barrier, and
Mm.
AI provided me with the AppScript code that I could just copy and paste in. And then I just followed the steps one by one. So it's not seamless. There's still a
Mm.
little bit of a loading time because it's not a database. But it's the best thing I've found at the moment to actually have a back end of it saved. In saying that, Canva AI, so Canva just had an update to their Canva code, which has a Canva SDK attached to it. So, which means you can have a backend in Canva Sheets within the same format within Canva.
Hmm.
So, um, if you're creating simple apps where you don't need AI running in your app, Canva code's definitely an option if you just want that backend to save the data and reload the data back into it. So I think the tools are getting better at that backend. Um,
Mm.
Google has Firebase and Firestore, um, already, which is a databasing tool that actual engineers would use. Um,
Hmm.
so in the future, I envisage Google having an option to do a one-click database setup,
Yeah.
which is my hope if Google ever listens to this, which would make it easy. But yeah, it's definitely something that still has work to be done um,
Hmm.
in terms of being a full stack app. In saying that, it's not a barrier to having great tools to use.
Yeah.
Even having the option to download and save into a folder, some teachers probably prefer that anyway. So then it's all stored within their cloud space. So then they can use that for their assessment grading and things like that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's like we don't need to have a full functional, software as a service kind of system built out. It's like, well, you've got the plans, you've created the lessons, you've got the differentiation tools, and you just hit download, and then you've got it ready to go. Like, how are you deciding between, like, you got this list of ideas you've got, and they're like, oh yeah, cool, these will be awesome to create. How are you deciding, like, what's worth your time to invest in, and then what's worth just fully automating out to AI?
Um, yeah, good question. I think anything that um, would make it more human or would have a human element to it, to have a human oversight to improve the process, I think is something that I believe the human should spend the time to put the process into.
Hmm.
Um, I think another thing that I think about when I have these ideas is, does it involve one prompt and then I get the product that I need? Or is there a process of 2 to 5 or 6 steps in order to get that final product that you need?
Mm.
And anything that's usually one step, I can try it in AI Studio, but if I know it's going to be a one-step prompt process, I might make a Google Gem or a ChatGPT GPT,
Hmm.
um, a Claude project or something like that, where I know where it's really just going to be that one prompt and not a multi-step process. Anything that is a multi-step process, then I will spend my time figuring out how would this work in an app? Is it going to be multiple buttons? Is the AI going to go through an automated process in the back end to throw up the final product? Um,
Mm.
I think that's kind of yeah, what I think about in terms of the different tools to use. Sometimes the tools evolve quickly, and it's just better to get that product and put it into a general chatbot um, in order to get the product. So something I do take is the lessons. I find it a lot better sometimes to actually go into Canva or go into Google and create simple web pages that I can then share with the kids.
Oh yeah.
So it's a lot easier to share it that way. So to have a whole app to create those interactives for me is useless because it doesn't have a sharing component with the kids on the other end of it. So I think, yeah, going through some of those processes and um, learning, I guess. You need
Yeah.
to create them in order to learn those processes. So if you don't actually create them, you never make the mistakes that I have in order to get to the point to know, oh, if I want a quick interactable, I'm just going to make it in Canva code so that I can share it straight to the kids on our learning management system,
Yeah.
which didn't work the first time I tried to share it with the kids, until I realized, oh, yes, it's sometimes simple is better.
Yeah, yeah. You're making a really good point. Like, it's all about these fears we keep hearing from, teachers and parents, all about saying that, AI is destroying students' critical thinking, and essentially you're acting as a student, like it's lifelong learning in in this process. Like, how are you seeing this sort of play out in your classrooms?
Yeah, so we're unique in the sense that we do have AI opened up for our students. So it's not just the teachers that we're building the capacity of with AI. We believe at Chev here that we actually need to prepare students for a world that they're going into,
Hmm.
which even in the present has a lot of AI in it. But when they finish their degree, it might be a good 6 years away, some of these students, or 10 years for some of the year 7 students. What's the world going to look like then? And that's what we need to prepare them for. So
Yeah.
we definitely use AI with the students. And what we have found is the way you present information or the way that you engage the students in the content has a big impact, whether they're being critical with the AI, whether they're being creative with the AI.
Hmm.
So if the student's not engaged in the content that you're providing, there's a big chance they're just going to go and get it produced for them because
Mhm.
they have no engagement in it. They know you just want it written up in a Word doc and sent to you. So we're doing a lot of work around, well, what is this learning?
Yeah.
What is the actual learning? What do we want the students to learn and take away from it? How do we get this student to be interested in that content?
Mm.
It might not be the way we've always taught it. It might have worked then, but guess what? It doesn't work now because we have AI.
Yeah.
Um, an example of this is the maths team were using digital textbooks, and then all of a sudden there's browser-based tools that will do the work for them automatically as an agent. And because we have AI opened up, the students have it there to do the work for them. So we're having great discussions with that maths team about, well, what does maths look like? What does maths look like now that an AI can do it for them?
Yeah.
Um, and what it's doing is it's actually having more opportunities to be human, doing maths verbally, and then constructing things or being curious about where maths is being used in the world a lot more than before AI came into the
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of critical thinking is what people like to talk about. There's a lot of critical thinking about um, what is the best AI tool to use?
Mm.
This is my problem. I need to find a solution. How is AI going to help me find the solution to this problem? Do I
Yeah.
need to go into Notebook LM and do a huge bunch of research now with the deep research and put it into a format that I'll understand, that I can then have a presentation in front of my peers to show them that this is the best way forward in um, the world we're living in geography and livability, or if this is the best way to grow a plant in a cold area in the Southern Highlands where I am. Um,
Mm.
AI doesn't take away the critical thinking for that. It helps them get to a point where they're thinking critically about who they are, where they are, who's around them, what problems are they trying to solve. So I think AI can appear to take away critical thinking if students are not engaged.
Hmm.
If they're not engaged and they just got AI to do it for them, were they really going to learn that anyway? Were
Yeah.
they really going to take the information away and retain that knowledge anyway? Or were they just studying it for a test and then as soon as the test is done, they're throwing it away? Um, so it's really in education, thinking about the learning, thinking about how you're presenting that information or your subject in a way that students want more. And
Yeah.
then as soon as they want more, guess what? There's a tool there that can help them. AI is this amazing tool to help them with curiosity, to
Mm.
help them be creative, to help them bring their ideas to life or show them information in a way that they would never have seen before. Um, and really, that's not taking away the critical thinking at all. It's
Yeah.
just having AI as one extra tool to help them with their critical thinking.
Yeah. You like addressed it right at the start. It was like having the purpose of why we're doing this is like fundamental. And we always hear it when we even go back to like university days, like remember, link your teaching experiences, link your lessons to real world. Otherwise, the kids are just so disconnected. They're just like, wow, what's the point? But it's like that traditional rote learning. We're still in an education system that was designed for a different age in like industrial revolution kind of stuff. But if we're thinking about like parent concerns now, like you really like can see the critical thought, and it's like it's using AI as a learning guide, as a partner of like what's next? How do I do this? Where do I go next? What and it's like opening up all these different options. What are you sort of addressing or telling the parents that say, oh, I'm worried my kid isn't learning anymore, they're becoming lazy because they're just like ChatGPTing everything. What are you guys telling them?
So I think I came up with a strategy early in the year, and I had my amazing assistant principal help me, who was an English teacher, make
Mm,
sure it fit within three C's. So as soon as it's alliteration, it's easier for everyone to remember. But the three C's are clarity, consistency, and capacity. So the first one, clarity, was all around the feedback we got from students and parents was all around we don't know when we can use AI or how we're meant to use AI. So they just really had no clarity around it.
hmm.
So one of the first things we did was focus on clarity for students, clarity for teachers, clarity for parents. So we made it very clear to all three with webinars and conversations with whole grade groups or whole teacher groups, parent webinars that we're leaning into AI here at Chev. So we're not shying away from it. We made it very clear for the students on assessment notifications that this is our expectation of the level of AI for this task.
Mm.
Sometimes not every task benefits from AI, but it's making it clear that this is we're using the 5 levels from Leon first. So starting, if this is a level 1, we make it clear with a road sign that's a branded road sign on their assessment notification. This is a level 1 because, and then you talk about the real world aspect of it. This is a level 1 in workshop safety because you need immediate recall on how to use a sharp tool safely within
Mm.
a workshop, as an example. So there is times when you do need immediate recall where the no AI is useful, but then providing more clarity about at what point they can use AI and how they can use AI. So all of a sudden, having that as a visual helps
Mm.
parents and teachers and kids straight away know this. Here's some expectation around it. There's a lot more
Yeah.
clarity. We brought in consistency of tools, so we made sure that all students had access to Google, Microsoft, Canva tools. And then moving away from the ChatGPT that they're all using previously to a lot more safer tool, and sharing that with the parents, talking about the enterprise protections around AI, the different age restrictions. So
Yeah.
Microsoft being a 13 plus tool, Google used to be a 13 plus tool, now an all ages tool, Canva being an all ages tool. So being very open with the safety and AI safety around those tools, consistency, making sure everyone had access to those tools and was able to use those tools in different situations. And then capacity was really been one of my big jobs is upskilling the teachers so they're feeling more comfortable with some of the AI tools, upskilling the students because I know they will pick it up quicker than the teachers. So yeah, doing whole grade workshops about what tools we have available, what they can do, how they can be used in different situations, individually or for group tasks. And then doing some webinars around building the capacity of the parents as well. So
Mm.
um, once sometimes parents have those fears because they don't understand the tool or don't understand how it's being used in education. So going through those 3 C's with the teachers, with the students, who then bring that information home to the parents, and then having opportunities to provide that information again to the parents and upskill them in their knowledge about the tools that we have access to and some of the things they can do. Um, I think that doesn't quash fears completely. So there's definitely still fears
Yeah.
about the cognitive offloading, like you mentioned, about privacy, about ethics and bias. So they're the things that we still have discussions about with parents and students bring that up as well. So it's not just parents bringing up those fears. Um, but yeah, just sharing the knowledge meant that they have a better understanding of how the tools work, how we're using them, which does quash some of the fears.
Yeah, yeah, brilliant. I love that consistency and the clarity is like two of the major drivers. What was the third C?
Capacity was the third one,
Oh,
so making
capacity.
sure
Yeah,
that people were able to understand what tools were there, what tools were being used, and how they're going to be used.
yeah.
So
That's
still
unreal.
working on capacity, but
Yeah, and it's a never-ending battle that one because it's obviously it's moving so quick. So how are you sort of talking to those teachers and sort of empowering them to start creating rather than waiting for the perfect thing to just land on their lap and say, "Oh yeah, solve all your problems."
yeah, I'm actually, I shouldn't be surprised, but I've been surprised how receptive the teachers have been to AI and using AI with students. I thought there would
Mm.
be a lot of fear around that for teachers as well. But teachers by nature are very curious.
Yeah.
Um, because they're very curious, it means that I'm lucky to be in this position where I have time to do some research or um, do some research at home and then bring those ideas to them when they're curious. So I spend a lot of time around the different faculty rooms around the school, just sitting. And if you sit within those rooms,
Mm.
I've been shocked at how many questions you get, or someone saying, "Oh, hey, look at this! I did this," because they know I'm the one that they can come to around artificial intelligence and AI. So
Mm.
um, that's been a big thing. Build the trust of teachers, be present, so be around them. And because they're naturally curious, teachers will ask you questions or come up with a concern or fear. And that's an opportunity to show them, oh, there's this tool, there's this new tool. And yeah, teachers will come up to me and show me there's this new tool and look what I'm doing with it. Yeah, on top of that, we also had the professional learning sessions early on So it was very clear to teachers, this is our way forward of leaning into AI. At every professional learning, we make sure that there's AI used in some way. So it's not necessarily an AI session,
Hmm.
but I call it, all right, now let's collaborate with AI.
Mm.
So I would often provide the prompt, and then AI would be a collaborator in the discussion or one of the brainstorming tools that has nothing to do with AI. It's just another priority of the school, but AI is a tool being used there. So that as well opens up teachers' minds around, this is a tool I can use in different situations, even if it's got nothing to do with digital technologies or AI. So I think
Yeah.
that's been very helpful as well. The third thing is having a principal that's also on the forefront of innovation and artificial intelligence. So the school's not only innovative around digital technologies, but around time, flipped
Mm.
Mondays, so allowing students to work from home in some situations on Mondays, so they have more choice around how they're spending their time. That all comes from having an innovative leader at the school, which helps as a third step to push AI and allow us to use AI in different ways and around the school.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, it's so good to hear. And you nailed it. It was like being present and all these like informal conversations of like, oh, look
Yeah.
what I'm doing, and having that opportunity to just share. So like I can imagine you don't necessarily have, you probably got a few of teachers that are saying, I just don't have time to learn this right now. I've got to do X, Y, Z. Is that how you sort of managing that situation of like just being there, asking, and that's sort of how it's addressed, or is there something different?
No, yeah, I think that's how it's addressed, being present, being there. Talking about it as often as possible. I think
Yeah.
the students are using it. So those teachers that are hesitant kind of have no choice in the way the schools lent into AI. They know that it's been shared with parents, it's been shared with students that they're using AI. And if they
Mm.
don't change their practice, then there's potential that the student's just going to offload the learning to AI, and we're not
Yeah.
going to know the student's understanding. So I think that's been a big driver for teacher uptake on the
Yeah.
some of the AI as well. It's definitely not perfect. There's definitely teachers in the school that definitely feel hesitant,
Hmm.
but they can often latch onto a tool. So they're not creating apps like I am, but they have their favorite tool. So whether it's Copilot or ChatGPT or Google or
Hmm.
Anthropic, so they will have their tool and we're allowing them to use that tool so they have confidence that they're not going to get in any trouble using these AI tools to support them in their teaching. So I
Right.
found even the most hesitant teachers are still using a tool. They
Mm.
just have a comfort zone where they'll go back to that tool. And when other ones are innovating and I'm showing some innovative things, they still feel a bit of comfort in their tool, which is okay. That's where they're up to. And then
Mm.
I'll keep showing them these extra great capabilities that are starting to come out more around. The infographics is the one that's blowing the teachers' minds at the moment. So
Yeah. Cool,
sometimes
isn't
things like that happen where teachers will grab onto something new and they're like, oh my gosh, this is going to
it?
enhance my teaching so much.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, like, if we think about people who might be listening at the moment, they're on the commute home. What's like one, and they're like, oh, I want to try this. This sounds really cool. What's just, they got 15 minutes. What's one small step they could just take to build their first or create their first little project or resource?
I think every teacher has access to Canva AI. So um, for free, whether it's on a personal education account or a school single sign-on account,
Mm.
um, Canva's opened it up to educators for free. And so I think something that people underestimate is the power of Canva AI. So I think if they've got a very short time, I recommend going into Canva AI, first of all, throwing in your learning content and go to Magic Presentation and get it to make that presentation for you. It'll give you three different options, 8 to 10 slides, add images. It'll be graphically beautiful. You can then go and edit it anytime you want. That'll only take you about 3 minutes. So then you can probably go to Canva Code and then
Mm.
take that learning content, the same learning content, and ask for an interactive that might have a quiz that's going to be saved into the Canva sheets or a drag and drop. I like using tabs, so just asking for horizontal tabs that the students can click through, and then a quiz at the end to collect the learning or an exit ticket. So that might be your 15 minutes there, and you've got your presentations to present at the front, and then you've got a learning interactive that you can just share the link to or embed in a learning management system. So yeah, I think surprisingly, that's one place that I'd probably encourage teachers to go and have a good look at.
Yeah, yeah, it's really cool. I was sitting in class the other day and I was like, oh, I need something extra. And I just jumped onto Canva AI and I quickly, within 10 minutes, had this interactive up on the board. Kids are interacting and like playing a detective game all about like digital citizenship. And I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah, that's crazy, right? It's
Yeah, yeah,
that's one of the
exactly.
dreams I mentioned. Like when I started teaching, that was definitely a dream to have interactives that students could do the learning while being active in that process instead of me just standing at the front and talking. And
Yeah.
it was always something like, oh, I wish I could learn JavaScript so I could code that quickly. Just to jump on, like you said, in 10 minutes and have it. So I've had to cover periods where I was thrown on the last minute, teacher's gone home, and I'm like, oh, what are we going to do? Jump on Canva, go to Canva Code, create it, share it. 5 minutes. We're learning together as we're going through this process of content. We're being critical about
Mm,
the content that's in there. So it's often in those situations, I'm very open sharing. AI helped me create this. Let's check the content against what you've already got to make sure it's appropriate.
yeah.
And being humble enough to not be the expert in that situation
Mm.
meant that we're being critical together.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good point. It's like using it to put another critical lens over like what you've already produced and not assuming you are the expert as like getting all that feedback. So is that how you're sort of training or teaching teachers or building their capacity to, be a critical consumer of all the AI is producing? Same with students, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. I think feedback and making mistakes. So,
Mm,
um, as everyone knows, AI does hallucinate, and it's being open with everyone that AI can make mistakes just like we can, and we can make mistakes, and that's okay as well. So, I think allowing teachers to have the ability to follow a path or a passion with AI, but then also for it to fail, and that's okay. So, we had a go at it. We did fail. We got some feedback. Let's figure out another way that this might work. For instance, I think an example was the PE team with permission of the students. So they had a big discussion with the students about marking an assessment with AI. So the students are a bit hesitant, but then
mm,
as soon as the teachers had the discussion around that, it would give them more feedback than ever. So teachers wouldn't normally give them feedback on each of the questions, just the final feedback point.
mhm.
Um, the students started being a bit more open to it, so they were able to have more feedback to improve their learning. But then we found some limitations. So just having the opportunity for teachers to find those limitations that then we can share with everyone meant there's this cycle of feedback to help us get to a point where it's going to help students and it's going to help teachers. So
Yeah,
um, teachers were providing feedback to each other, providing feedback to me, getting feedback from the students to then provide feedback to the students. Um, yeah, I think it's
yeah.
crazy cycles of learning and innovation. But if you don't allow the teachers to do that in the first place, you can't go through that process.
Yeah, I suppose it comes down to that concept of keep the human in the loop. It's
Yep.
like otherwise you got, if you've got such open doors for your students, they're all just using AI, then the teachers are giving feedback with AI. Where's the actual connection point? So
Yeah,
how do
it's
you
so
go about
funny. I say this all the time that I believe AI is actually making education more human.
mm,
So because there's opportunities for students to just go and get something for AI to feed them and hand it into the teacher, it means teachers need to rethink how they're doing some of their assessments. And some of the ways they're rethinking that is to have more discussions,
hmm
more conversations between students. So anytime students are looking at each other in the eye and having a conversation with each other or with the teacher means that education is actually more human than it was before. What's more dehumanizing than sitting 100 students in a hall, not talking or looking at each other, looking down at a piece of paper for 3 hours in case of the HSC? To me, that's one of the most dehumanizing things ever. And
Yeah.
yet we get all the students to go through the process multiple times in their education career, um, where AI means maybe that's not the best way forward, which isn't a bad thing. It means we're going to have more discussions. We're going to have more
Mm,
questioning of each other. That's another thing as well that I've never seen a tool allow students to ask as many questions as they do now.
mm,
So students spend so much time listening in high school, in particular, where I'm in secondary school, where they stop asking questions. They
Yeah.
stop talking. They expect to be able to sit there and listen and be compliant in some instances or drift off somewhere else.
Mm.
Um, they learn, they don't have to ask questions anymore. Where AI, they're the one who drives it. They're the one who actually has to be the first instigator of the information. They have to ask a question. So to me, what a great opportunity to make things more human that
Mm.
now students are asking more questions, which provides them opportunities to talk to each other more,
Yeah.
which to me will mean that education is going to be more human because of AI.
Yeah, it's so interesting because like all the research, OECD, MIT, UNESCO, all of those guys are basically saying the critical creative skills of human that AI can't do is basically like where we should be going in education in general, like as a whole system. And it's fascinating to hear like you're actually seeing they're actually engaging more in that sense. Like I remember you describe yourself as like the most curious and creative, and you've even mentioned that about teachers now. Like, what do you think is like the catalyst for all this? Do you think it's just the tools, or is there something bigger going on?
Yeah, good question. I think I've always been genuinely curious about things myself, but I think the biggest difference is you can act on your curiosities now. So
Mm,
having the opportunity to act on your curiosities means you can be more creative. And the more creative you are, the more curious you are.
yeah.
Um, and I personally think curiosity is the great word to pick. I think curiosity is what's going to drive your understanding of new tools and change like AI. I think curiosity is actually what we need more in education.
Mm,
And the more we can get students to be curious, the less of an impact that AI is going to have on their cognitive offloading. So yeah, I think curiosity is a key word in the future that we're moving into very quickly.
yeah. Yeah, I think you bang on because like there's this phrase that, we see AI agentic agents and all that kind of stuff, but if we think human agency, the ability to choose what we do and how we do it, but it comes from like, oh, I really want to learn this, I want to do that. Like having that curiosity mindset of like, well, maybe it's possible.
Yeah, I
Like,
love that. I hadn't thought about that before. I think that's a great way to look at it. That yeah, human agent means that we do have more opportunity to follow our will or follow our freedom. So another nail in the coffin for the future being more human.
exactly. Is exactly it. So what's like in the next couple of years, like we don't even really know where we're going, but what are you most excited about right now?
I think so. This is still evolving here at Chev. So I think what I'm most excited about is seeing how assessment will change. So I think grades and assessment have made a huge impact, particularly on secondary education, about the way the school runs. So
Mm.
I'm really interested to see where assessment goes in the next 3 to 5 years, not only just at the school level, but at a systems level as well. So I think the big exams, the big end of school exams are having a lot less relevance now
Yeah.
for their purpose. So the purpose initially was to rank students, to get the top students into the top courses in university. So we had the top people in the top positions. Um, it's a lot less relevant now than at the time because students are going into universities in a lot of different ways. Universities are finding that sometimes the top students in those rankings weren't necessarily the best fit for their role in the best positions.
Mm.
So I think there's multiple ways of entry into higher education that at a whole system level, I'm really interested and curious to find out how the system's going to change. And then as soon as assessment changes in the system, I think there's just going to be this drop down effect where education's going to change. And I
Yeah.
think that'll provide a lot more opportunities to work cross faculty, bigger projects, a lot more interest based where students can follow their curiosity without having to have this endpoint where everyone's so anxious about working towards that we got to get them there.
Hmm.
Um, I know I'd love to do all these things, but we got to get them there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Like, so how do you see like because education and especially for teachers, we're so wrapped up in a sense of identity. Like, yeah, we are an educator, we are a teacher. Like for many, this like AI usage and it's outsourcing, the the chalk and talk methods, I'm the expert on the stage, and there's the phrase will become the guide on the side. Like, how do you see your sense of self-worth, I guess, as an educator? Like now understanding that AI can do all these things that you may be removing that expertise.
Yeah, so the teacher can't be the content bearer anymore. So I think what's been surprising to me is the teacher's reaction to um, the pressure of having to deliver the content.
Hmm.
So teachers actually start to feel relief, I've found, when they know they're not the bearer of all knowledge. As it comes down to it, like teachers really just want to help kids.
Yeah.
And at the moment, they feel the best way to help kids is to get as much content across as possible so they can do the best they can at that exam at the end.
Hmm.
Um, as soon as the pressure's taken off to, I don't have to be the one to deliver the content. I have to make sure that they have an understanding of it, but I don't have to deliver it. It takes time off teachers. It actually gives
Yeah.
teachers way more time, and it allows teachers to have more conversations with students, find out what they understand about the knowledge they have in front of them. And what we're starting to find here is the more teachers can take the content helmet off, put it down, and actually be the coach, the facilitator, the guide on the side, to quote the cliche, it's actually a relief to teachers because realistically, all they want to do is help the students.
Yeah.
And helping the students in the past may have been delivering more content, but now you don't have to have the pressure of delivering so much content because it's available to them at any time.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, honestly, it's so true. Like if you think about though how much time you're investing in like learning the skills, testing, experimenting, and building that confidence and that capability in the use of AI, whether you get to the level of like vibe coding, creating apps or just integrating for like the stock standard teacher, like do you think it's a sustainable method or are you like you just feeling like no, look, there's got to be some sort of person who's driving it, and then we'll just trickle down like here's the stuff. How are you seeing that like evolve?
Yeah, I think I'm coming from a biased perspective where I'm the person in this school that has the opportunity to trickle it down to other teachers. So
Mhm.
I think it's been a definite need to have someone like me in the school that has the time to one research. So
Mhm.
keeping up to date with the AI at the moment is a full-time job on its own.
Yeah.
And then not only just seeing what's there, but having a play with it. Is this useful in our context? How is this changing what we're currently doing? All that does take time. And
Mm.
I think it's an unrealistic expectation to not have someone in the school to help the teachers with that process.
Yeah.
If the expectation is that teachers are the ones that have to keep up with that, as I said, it's a full-time job. They will not be able to keep up with that. So I
Mm.
think it definitely needs a dedicated position within a school to help the teachers integrate it if that's the goal of the school. So
Yeah.
um, if you are following a path where, and a lot of schools are moving towards, well, it's not working just blocking AI because the kids are using it anyway. We need
That's
to be
it.
proactive here. And I think one way to be proactive is if you have the opportunity, put someone in a dedicated position to help the teachers in the classroom, in the planning, in the staff
Mm.
rooms. Um, that has less of that teaching load that can do the research. So I think it's a very valuable position at this school that I'm
Yeah.
here to have the time to then give that time back to the teachers.
Yeah, honestly, it's so good because I've just done a couple of baseline assessments, like AI baseline. Where are we now for this school and one in London and then one back in Australia? And it's interesting, like the amount of adoption the students have comparative to some of the teaching stuff.
Yep.
And then just like, they're using it weekly, daily on like everything. Whereas, there's this big proportion of they haven't started yet. So like we get caught up in like the LinkedIn world of like, oh look, all these things are working, all these things, oh look at how good this is. What's like something you've created recently or in the past, like it just flopped. You're like, I spent way too long trying to build this thing out and it's just gone nut.
Way too long one. I think one thing I tried yesterday was creating something to help me do screen recordings that I just couldn't get it. And I'm talking like a full video production app. I just couldn't get it to have the drag and drop and the annotation features that I wanted. So I probably
Mm.
wasted 3 hours of my life trying to get that to work the way I wanted, and it's just not quite there yet to do a full video production app. So
Mm. Yeah.
that was one of the recent examples was just yesterday. I think sometimes you can throw into a general chatbot and it did throw information that wasn't correct. Or you tried to create an app, but it looks horrible. And you're
Yeah.
like, that SVG icon that it created, that's gross.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so definitely situations like that where, to be honest, sometimes you can iterate and you get
Mm.
what you want. But yeah, when you do go down the vibe code aspect and you're creating a bigger app, you can dedicate a lot of time to then get to a product at the end. You think, nah, it's not quite working where I want it to.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do. So as I said before earlier, around the discussion app. So sometimes I do scrap the whole thing and start again because
Mm.
it wasn't quite what I wanted in practice. So um, yeah, I think it's not perfect,
Yeah.
um, but I can still do things I could never before.
Yeah. So like talking about doing things you've never done before, like how's been creating all this AI tools and resources like actually changing or helping your day to day?
Good question. So day to day, so one of the cool tools I created with Google AI Studio was a shopping app.
Mhm.
So I created this app that's got all our dinners in it, and then the dinners recipes pop up as well, and then it's all tagged with different filters, and it's using that app script with Google Sheets in the background, like I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my wife and I can go in there and we can just say generate a month's worth of dinners. Make sure, and I set it up so you can set some rules. So the rules are they've got to mix up meats every day, and then every Sunday we have a family dinner that's either a baked dinner or a schnitzel on every Sunday, and then it will just generate the month's worth of dinners. It's got each week we know we can look down the dinner. Um, Ingredients so we know what we're shopping at that week. And so, like, people don't realize how much time that actually saves that I
Yeah.
can dedicate to something else. So
Yeah.
it didn't actually take it. That was a like 3 shot prompt to create the app. It didn't take me long to make it. It took
Yeah.
me a while to set up the database of
Hmm.
the meals, which uh, was time well spent because it's going to save my wife and I a lot of time. So on a practical level, it wasn't school-based, but
Yeah. Yeah.
that saves me a lot of time. I
Yeah.
do create a lot of apps for myself personally. So one of them was just like using Google's scanning features.
Oh yeah.
So taking pictures of workbook documents to then put it into um, a digital space that kind of gives me a summary that I can then put into a folder to save me time having to go through each of the books. It's right there on my computer and I can run through it.
Mm.
Um, it can create task lists if you want to, but there's plenty out there. I like doing those ones. Um, yeah, they're the ones I
Yeah.
can think of off the top of my head.
That's cool because it's like the standard like everyone's using AI to just optimize certain sections of their life. They're like, oh, this is waste of admin time.
Yeah.
Get rid of it.
Actually, I remember another one. There's the push-up challenge. So when we
Oh
did the
yeah.
push-up challenge at home, we're able to collect the data. We're all my sons and I. So my sons are 15 and 13, and they were in the app and they were collecting their push-ups and we're competing with each other to see who could do the most push-ups. So that was a
That's
pretty cool
fun.
one.
Yeah, that's really fun. We're coming to the close to the end, man. So I'll just ask you like three pretty rapid fire quick questions. Like, what's one AI tool you reckon every teacher should try this week?
Go use Canva AI. So everyone go and have a go at Canva AI this week, I reckon.
Yeah, brilliant. It's such an easy one to get into. What's one thing that teachers need most about this AI world that we're not really talking about?
One thing teachers need most is time. So it
Mm.
takes time to learn. Teachers need time to learn. So I think that's definitely one thing that teachers can always have more of.
Yeah, yeah, brilliant. And what's the biggest mistake you're seeing teachers making when it comes to AI?
The biggest mistake is probably not iterating. So not going back through the conversation, trying to rely on just one answer or one product. So definitely have a conversation. So spend 5 more minutes going back and forth.
Yeah, yeah, that's brilliant. So, like, just a general statement, like, what would you tell a teacher right now who is, new to the whole concept or is just ready to take a little first step?
I'd probably tell them it's okay to have some fear and trepidation about learning something new, but there's a lot of people to help you, including the students. So I think the first thing you should really do is jump in, have a go at it. You'll be surprised if you're at this point and you haven't used it, you're going to be very surprised about what you can produce.
Yeah, yeah, and even if it's personal life, helping your shopping list rather than
Yeah, exactly.
that's where you start. I got a friend who's using it to maintain a basil plantation that she's like, oh, kept killing my basil.
Yeah, we've got orchids at home that are indoor orchids that would just die. But
Yeah.
because of AI, we're able to maintain those orchids. So every spring they actually bloom, which is amazing.
That's so good. So good. So Ryan, you've given me so much to think about, mate. Like the back end infrastructure, the ability to think about, consistency and communication for parents, teachers, and the students, for anyone in like roles like mine, where we're, similar to yourself, like leading the whole school through where are we going, uncharted waters. But I think some of your core messages are really standing out. And it's really like that permission to start creating without waiting for perfect and just having a go. So if people were wanting to, follow your work, where could they find you?
I think I'm very regular on social media, so LinkedIn's probably the best way to find me. So at Ryan Noonan 5, and then same at X or Twitter at Ryan Noonan 5. I use both of them for different purposes. So education based, definitely more in the LinkedIn space. I find X or Twitter very good to learn about AI. So that's more
Mm.
about that space there. But yeah, that's probably the best way to get in contact with me. Message me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, yeah, amazing, amazing. And so to everyone who's just listening, who's feeling that sort of idea paralysis we talked about, get that list going, start the creating, start small, start creating something and see what happens because it's now time to create rather than the wait. Thanks, Ryan, mate. I really appreciate your time. It's been absolutely awesome talking to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Vaughn. Great
Yeah.
chat.